Welcome, my friends, and welcome to episode 2 of my podcast. My name is Albert, and today we're going to look at Love, Death and Robots, episode 10, entitled Shapeshifters. Oh, spoiler alert, if you have not watched this episode yet, please do not listen to this podcast, because I'm about to wreck it. But if you have seen the episode, sit back and relax, and let's discuss. The story seems to take place in some kind of Taliban control area. It's never confirmed. Somewhere in Afghanistan. The US military seem to be on patrols, and this is where we're introduced to the two main protagonists, Decker and Sobieski. Decker is a young American soldier walking around in his bare feet, sniffing the air. Sobieski seems to be quite similar, walking around in his bare feet, at the rear of the company. Decker is shot by a sniper, and this is where he exhibits enhanced abilities. He seems to have super eyesight and super reflexes because he's able to dodge a bullet and to help the other soldiers take out the target. Back at the American camp, it becomes very clear that Sobieski and Decker are not wanted by the other soldiers. One sergeant refers to them as dog soldiers, unnatural, different. And Decker defends both him and Sobieski by saying how unnatural people are because they use technology to achieve the same abilities he and his friend have naturally. And then Sobieski shows fangs growing in his mouth and growls at the sergeant. And that pretty much wins the argument. Later we see Decker and Sobieski working out, and once again we are privy to a secret ability, which seems to be super strength, because Sobieski is weightlifting 4 massive truck tires. Major Rayner walks in and sends Sobieski on a mission. And later on we see Sobieski leaving with some troops to defend some faraway hill. Night falls, and it's reported that the location Sobieski has been sent to is under attack. Decker rushes off and once again shows us enhanced abilities because he can run at super speed and leap really high in the air and see in the dark. When he gets there, unfortunately, he finds Sobieski dead. Returning to base, Major Rayner approaches Decker, stating, "The Taliban shouldn't have werewolves." So, Decker and Sobieski were werewolves. That's pretty fucking cool. That's pretty cool. Decker goes on a scouting mission the next day to try and hunt down whatever killed his friend. As he walks through the village, he stops and senses something there. Looking around, he notices an old man who looks blind, but the old man smiles as if he can see or he can smell him. And as soon as Decker looks back again, the old man is gone. So I think we've hunted down who killed his friend. That night, he rushes out, naked, into the desert, seeking his revenge, and to confirm his suspicions. And he finds what he's looking for. The old blind man is standing naked on a cliff, and he's looking down at him. And this is where they both transform into the werewolves that they are. Surprisingly, there is another werewolf as well, and he attacks Decker from the side. It seems to be a younger werewolf. Decker kills him, and then proceeds to have his final battle with the old werewolf. And in the end, he kills him in the most spectacular way by placing his head inside his mouth and crushing his head and his brain and winning the battle. Returning to the base, Decker collects his friend's body and tells Major Rayner, "I'm no longer on your leash," and he throws his dog tags away. He buries Sebeski on the side of a hill, and his final words are, "See you in the wild, my friend." And in the next scene, we see clothing on the hillside and a full moon and howling. And that's the end of the episode. He's run free, my friends. He's run free. He's now wild and free like a werewolf should be. And that's it. This was a very slick episode. Very slick. It was full of so many charming nuggets and unanswered questions. I love this concept of werewolves in the military. It's so different and unusual. And there was little hints throughout the episode that, well, at first you couldn't really place what they were. Were they just enhanced humans with dog DNA? Or just enhanced humans? But when there was references to dogs and, even the food they ate at dinner. If you can remember the scene when they were eating dinner, you'll notice all the rest of the soldiers were eating vegetables or some form of something with their dinner. But Sebeski and Decker were just eating plates with mountains of meat on top of it, which I thought was just hilarious. I think they had like 10 sausages on each plate. The animation was beautiful, fantastic transformation process, which was displayed at the end of the episode. The fight scene was horrifying, but just beautiful. And the voices for Decker and Sebeski were perfect. I believe Decker was played by Graham Hamilton, and Sebeski was played by Adam Barkley. Just two wonderful voice actors. Also, there was just a friendship that Sebeski and Decker had. Throughout the episode, there was small hints of what they really were. They had a very playful friendship, but at the same time, a slightly violent one. Kind of rough and tumble, but with an underlying sense of loyalty. So it was kind of like two dog men playing around and kind of shooting the shit, but in a very kind of dog-like manner. The other interesting thing I found was the unknown origins of their species. It bugged me when the major said, why should the Taliban have werewolves? They shouldn't have them. Why shouldn't they have them? Does that imply that the werewolf species only exists in America? Or that there's certain bloodlines that only exist in the world? It definitely implies with the old werewolf that maybe it is a bloodline thing, because the young werewolf that Decker kills perhaps is his grandson? The grandson of the blind werewolf? I don't know. There's no details, but there's so much mystery behind what they really are. But Decker and Sebeski seem to share this culture, this heritage that they both seem to be proud of, especially when normal humans seem to question why they're there, as if they're not American or they're not like human enough to fight in the war. It implies perhaps some form of jealousy or some kind of religious issue they have with what they are. It's never explained, but there's so much mystery behind that. It definitely implies that they're not some form of a American experiment. It seems like they're part of some naturally forming entity on the planet Earth, or in this dimension. But it would be interesting to see an expanded version of this, because I found the visuals and the concepts so sharply done that you want to see how it all comes together, especially when Decker kind of leaves in the end. It implies he's there voluntarily and that he could always leave when he wanted to, but they were there kind of to serve their country, although they weren't being appreciated. It's an interesting one. If anyone knows any more information about this episode's origins, I'd love to hear from you. Please contact me. I'll eventually put my contact details up for the podcast. So when I do, please send your information on. Well, that's all I want to really discuss about this episode. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you watch the episode yourself. It's a wonderful experience. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the Netflix series and to review my favorite episodes. This is definitely in my top 3 of the episodes that I've watched so far. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a good day. And I'll chat to you soon.